One of these men is the first American to beat the Scots at their own game. What is your name, please?
My name is Bud Somerville.
My name is Bud Somerville.
My name is Bud Somerville.
Only one of these men is the real Bud Somerville. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cash, Orson Bean, and Kitty Carlisle. On To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good evening, panel.
Good evening, Bud.
Boy, the nicest people anyone could possibly spend an evening with. And I've got that privilege. We're brought to you tonight by Winston Filter Cigarettes. Now, panel, you may open up your envelopes, if you will, and follow along with me on this first story. I, Bud Somerville, am an American who has become an expert at the old Scottish winter sport of curling. While the terminology of curling might be confusing, the game itself is simple. In curling, a player slides a 42-pound stone along 138 feet of ice. His sweepers clean the ice in front of the sliding rock in the hope that it will stop on the button in the center of the target, which is called the house. A rink or team consists of 4 players. I am the skip or captain of my rink. At the international tournament in Scotland last month, we became the first American curling champions of the world. Signed, Bud Somerville. Panel, these 3 gentlemen all claim to be Bud Somerville. Let's start the questioning with Peggy Cash. Peggy?
Thank you. Number 2, if there are 4 people on your rink, there's 2 sweepers, you, and what does the other fella do?
He throws a stone.
Oh, he throws he throws the stone out on the ice.
Yes.
Is he on the, number 3, is he on the ice when he throws the stone?
Yes, he slides through the house. He starts from the hack and slides forward.
He starts from the hack. The hack. Is that the button, the hack?
No, it isn't. That's the foot apparatus to support the foot on a throw.
Sure it is. Tell me, number 1 is how many periods in the game?
Well, in championship play, you generally have 12 ends. Sometimes it's only 10, but 12 in championship.
12 ends?
That's right.
And now, number 3, how?
Orson Bean.
Number 2, did you take this up as a as a boy, curling?
Yes, I did. I started curling in high school.
Well, why? Were you too poor to afford a toboggan, or? Why? That's an unusual thing for a lad to take up, isn't it, curling?
Well, we had high school curling, and my father was a curler, so I started.
I see. Number 1, why is it called curling?
Well, it's the action that the stone actually moves through as it goes down the ice. A very slow curl.
It curls, I see. Number 3, why, in the film they showed, why did they continue to sweep after it passed the line? I should think they'd stop sweeping.
The sweeping action it causes a friction on the ice and melts the ice, and therefore the stone travels further. This is done to...
Yes, but once it passed the line where they were hoping it would stop, I should think they would not want it to travel further. Or did I not understand it?
No, well, the sweeping is done all the way down from the hog line all the way down to the button.
Right. And after, all right, we'll find out next week.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, how many curlers are in the United States?
Oh, I would say approximately between 15 and 20,000.
That many. Number 1, how old is the game?
Oh, it's lost in antiquity. Many years ago. No one knows really.
Number 3, who makes these stones?
They're made in Scotland.
Are there new stones being made all the time? Or are they all antiques?
No, they're new stones.
Number 2, how do you score this game? If you win, how many points do you win?
I don't believe I can answer that one.
Number 1, is that a difficult question to answer?
No, not really. The stone closest to the center of one team is his first score. It's much like shuffleboard, and only his stones count 1 point for each one closest to the center.
Thank you.
Tom Poston.
Number 2, would you repeat Miss Carlisle's question, please? What did she ask you?
I don't know.
That's funny. I'm really put off a little bit. How do you keep that, how do you score? How many points does it take to win, number 3? A game. Is it called a game, by the way?
Yeah, there's 10 innings to a game.
Is that right, about 12 in championship play, number 3?
That's correct. There's 10 in the United States, but the champions in Canada, it's 12 innings to a game.
And how do you win?
Well, the highest points.
I see.
That's it. Time for you now to take your sweepers and mark your ballots. So mark them at once, if you will, please, without any consultation whatsoever. Simply vote now for the one you think is the real one. Without consultation, vote for number 1, vote for number 2, or vote for number 3. Team of challengers, of course, will receive $250 for each and every incorrect vote indulged in by our panelists. Are all ballots marked? Very well. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 2 in the hope that he didn't understand the question and therefore couldn't answer it, because I liked all of his answers up until then. In fact,
Peggy Cash.
Well, I didn't vote for number 2 because he didn't know how to win. So I voted for number 1 because number 3 kept talking about hack and hog, and I didn't believe that. So I voted for 1.
Orson B.
Well, I believed hack and hog, but I know that they work very hard with these guys, and they would have taught them, the 2 fakes, how to win, and number 2 didn't know it, which is ridiculous, so I voted for him. It might be the real one.
Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number 2.
Insanity.
On the basis of Tom's question, that he didn't understand my question, which is, how do you score in the game? And so I voted, but very often I find the real one answers less than the ones who are well briefed.
Very well, that makes it 3 for number 2, 1 for number 1. Let's go with that. Find out how and where it takes us as we learn now which one of these gentlemen, in truth, is Bud Somerville. Will the real Bud Somerville please stand up?
I can't.
Yes, Tom.
Listen, could we have Kitty ask her question of him
Sure,
again
go
and
ahead.
see
And
what...
this time I'll answer it.
Bud Somerville, number 2, how do you score the game?
I don't believe that's the correct way. Was that the exact way you asked me?
Yeah.
How do you score points, for example?
Well, it's similar to a shuffleboard, and the rock closest to the button or to the middle of the house would count 1. And
Thank you.
That's why I didn't vote for you, because you didn't know that.
Do you think we have a bad time?
Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name's Ted Sheridan. I'm Executive Vice President of Starflight Incorporated. We fly large airplanes for some American corporations.
Thank you. And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Arnold Hansen Sturm, and I'm the Assistant Sales Manager of the Romanoff Caviar Company.
Well, we checked the score and we find that an uncertain panel were 2 right for their own good. There were 3 correct and only 1 incorrect, but that's nevertheless worth $250, gentlemen, and we thank you very much for sharing this evening with us. Hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye and God bless you. Incidentally, we'd like to thank station KDAL in Duluth, Minnesota for the curling film that we showed you earlier. All right, panel, we'll take a minute off now while we look at this brief film. Our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Chris Holt. My name is Chris Holt. My name is Chris Holt.
Follow along again, panel, if you can take your eyes off there for just a minute. I, Chris Holt, was born and brought up in the circus. The first time I appeared under the big top, I performed in a wire act. I wanted to do something much more spectacular. So after 8 years of special training, I developed my skills sufficiently to be billed as a featured performer with Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. I became the first girl in history to hang some 100 feet above the arena floor by my hair. Signed, Chris Holt. Panel, these three ladies all claim to be Chris Holt. Let's start this cross-examination with Orson Bean. Orson?
Yes, well, you're fine, healthy girls, all of you. Let me ask, number 3. Do you know who Eunice is? U-N-U-S?
Yes.
What is his act?
A performer who stands on his thumb.
And do you know what his real name is?
No, I don't.
Number 2, do you?
That's the right name.
Does he have another name, too?
No, I don't think so.
All right, number 1, Harold Alzana. Who is he?
I don't know.
Number 3, who were the folks that get shot out of the cannon?
Zucchini.
All right. Number 2, how do they do that?
It's a...
Number 2.
Well, I guess they go in a cannon and they get shot out. I don't know. I never tried it.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, do you think this strengthens your hair?
Strengthens the hair. It strengthens the scalp. I guess you would say that it strengthens the hair and that the scalp and the hair become accustomed to it.
Number 2, do you wash your hair, or would this hurt your act?
No.
Because you couldn't do a thing with it?
No, I wash it regularly.
It doesn't make any difference?
No.
Number 3, what was the name of the famous circus family that had so much tragedy occur in their lives recently?
I don't know.
Number 2, who was Lillian Lightsell?
She was an aerialist.
Tom Poston.
Thank you, Bud. I'd like to ask if this is painful. I'll start. Number 1, does it hurt at all? Is it painful?
Yes, it does, especially when you're first in and out of the hook. It causes headaches afterwards.
Gosh. Number 2, how do you get into... Do you have a harness of some kind? Is it a special hairdo, or is there any kind of a mechanical harness that you wear on your hair?
Well, a hook to hook into the wire.
And you mount the hook in your own hair, is that it?
That's right.
Gosh. Number 3, would you say it was painful?
Yes, when you start putting the hook into your, the gadget to hold yourself, pull yourself up, and as you let yourself down, it is very painful.
Thank you. Number 2.
Peggy Cash.
Number 2, who are the Wolandas?
That's a high wire act.
Thank you. Number 1, at what age did you start this with your hair?
With the hair, I started at the age of 19.
Number 3, when you're up there hanging by your hair, do you twist?
Yes, sometimes I do juggling, and occasionally I will twist in ballet positions.
I see. Number 2, who's Dick Barstow?
He's one of the show director.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for. So, mark your ballots, panel. Mark them at once. Don't consult with each other while you're marking, and don't change once you have marked. Just simply vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked, and quickly, I see. All right, Tom, for whom this time?
It was a pleasure to look at these pretty ladies all the time. I voted for number 2. I thought that since she knew Dick Barstow, that she would probably be the right one.
Peggy.
Well, I voted for 2, too.
2?
Yes. Dick Barstow once directed me, but on the floor, then not on the high wire. And she knew the Flying Wolandas, so I voted for 2.
Orson.
Well, Kitty's question about the Wolandas, they are the tragedy-plagued outfit, and that ruled out 3 for me. And number 1 didn't know who Harold Alzana is. He's one of the great tightrope walkers, but I still think it's her, but I voted for 2.
All right, Kitty.
I voted for number 2. They were all terribly good, but number 3 said that it was the zucchinis that were shot out of the cannon, and that's a vegetable. I think it's the zacchinis. And number... Well, it's true. It's a vegetable.
Mighty good eating, Allison.
And number 1 looks as though she could be, but I voted for number 2.
All right, that makes it unanimous. You've had success with that combination. You've also had tragedy. So let's see what it does this time. All voting for number 2. Okay, I'll tell you. Let's find out now which one of these 3 young ladies, in truth, is the real hairialist, I guess you might call her, Chris Holt. Ladies, would you please come out center here and fly in their equipment, please? Now, will you girls please hook up? Now, let's find out which one of these three young ladies is the real Chris Holt. Orson just told me he'd be happy to rub your neck if you're having a headache right now. Number one, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Tammy Jarmathy, and I'm a mermaid at Weeki Wachee Springs, Florida.
Now, number three, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Gloria Thomas. I'm a charm instructor at the Nancy Taylor Secretarial School in New York City.
All right, in checking the score, we find that the panel was right. In that case, of course, there still is $150 coming your way. We thank you very much for brightening our evening. Goodbye, and God bless you. Now, if you like pizza, listen to this. Our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Gerhard Marby. My name is Gerhard Marby. My name is Gerhard Marby.
Follow along again, panel, would you please? I, Gerhard Marby, work for the United States Forest Service as a wilderness ranger. Congress has set aside 14.5 million acres of forest land throughout the country to remain forever wild. This means that in those designated areas there are no public roads, no permanent buildings, and no motorized travel of any kind. Thus, our children will be able to see what our land was like before we began to tamper with it. To do so, however, they will have to walk in or ride in on horseback. My particular beat is the 384,000 acres of the Bridger Wilderness in Wyoming. I travel alone with a saddle horse and pack animals. My only communication with the outside is by walkie-talkie radio. I am expected to be a naturalist, expert camper, and woodsman. I'm supposed to be proficient at first aid, firefighting, maintaining trails, and finding and helping campers in difficulty. This is quite a bit for a boy like me who was born and raised in the wilds of New York City. Signed, Gerhard Marby. Very well, these three gentlemen panel all claim to be Gerhard Marby. We'll start this one with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. Number one, how did a city streets boy like you get into Wyoming? What training did you have?
I took my degree in forestry at Fresno State College in California.
Thank you. Number two, how close is Cody to Yellowstone Park?
About 60 miles or so.
Thank you. Is Cody the nearest entrance to Yellowstone, number three?
From here it is, yes, it's the eastern entrance.
From here?
From this side of the approach.
Number one, do you have much trouble with campers?
No, not usually.
Number two, would you call national parks part of this whole reservation?
Eventually it will be within the next 10 years under the Wilderness Bill.
Number three, what is the worst animal you have to deal with, aside from man?
I think the bull moose is the most dangerous.
The bull moose?
Yes, ma'am.
Tom Poston.
Keep away from them bull mooses, mice. Number two, you're an expert camper, like in wilderness guy. Is porcupine edible?
Yes.
How do you cook it, number two?
Carefully.
Carefully.
I've never tried to.
Don't get it sore, and don't try to eat any bull mooses. Number one, do you sleep out in the open?
Yes.
How do you protect yourself from rain?
I have a pup tent.
Oh, you have a pup tent. Do you sleep with a pup tent, number three?
A pop tent, yes.
What's a pop? What's the difference between pop and pup?
It's a tent that opens like an umbrella. You pop it open. It's very fast to assemble.
That's great. Do you use one of those tents, number two?
Yes, sir.
What would you do if you had real weather to put up with when you're out in the wilderness? How would you protect yourself, number 2, against real bad weather, cold?
Oh, again, I would resort to the tent and wear heavy clothes.
Peggy Cash.
Thank you. Number 1, do we have any permanent wildernesses in New York State?
Yeah, you have a small area to the north of here.
Thank you. Number 3, where is the small area that's a wilderness in New York?
There is no wilderness area in New York State, ma'am.
Thank you. I knew we wouldn't get any. Number 2, who's the Secretary of the Interior?
The Secretary of the Interior is Stuart Udall.
Thank you. Number 1, is he the one who started all this permanent wilderness stuff?
Yes, he and Democratic Senator Anderson from New Mexico.
Thank you. Oh, so. Number 3, don't they ever prune in the wilderness, like, you know, clear out the dead branches?
No, ma'am. It's a strictly wild area.
Thank you. Number 2, do you have to have special permission to go in there?
No, ma'am.
I don't mean you, me.
Orson Bean.
Number 3, tell me about the bull moose now. He's chasing you, see? And if he catches you, what does he do to you?
Well, the bull moose is dangerous in rutting season, and best thing to do is climb a tree.
Yeah, well, I hope you ain't his style. Number 1, what knot is the sheep shank? This is what kept me from ever getting past tenderfoot in the Boy Scouts. The sheep shank, describe it.
Excuse me, I don't really understand.
The sheep shank, it's a knot. Do you know what it looks like?
And tying ropes, it's a knot.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
All right. Number 2, do you feed the bears at all? I mean, is that, should you not?
No.
They're wild in this part of the wilderness.
Yes, we don't
Number
feed
2
them.
again, do the dunes fall under this wilderness thing? The dunes of Cape Cod and... I know that.
I don't know.
That's all the time we have, though it's time for you to take your ballots in hand and mark them, please. Mark them at once. No changes allowed after you've marked, and no consultation. Vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All marked? All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 2. It's wrong, really, because he comes from New York City, but I thought he looked more like the outdoors kind of a kid than the other 2, although I would trust any of them.
Peggy Cash.
I voted for number 1 because he looks as though he comes from New York, and also he mentioned gave a plug to Senator Anderson, who indeed has been very much for all this national wilderness stuff.
Orson.
Come to my neighborhood. That's a national wilderness.
I voted for number 3. He looks like a fellow who might prefer vegetables to people and take a job like spending his life with the leaves.
And Kitty.
I voted for number 1. He has the look of a fellow who's had his wits sharpened by dodging New York taxicabs. And the bull moose wouldn't scare him.
Very well. This is the widest split voting you've done tonight. Let's see how this one fares with truth as we learn now which one of these 3 gentlemen, in truth, is Gerhard Marby. Will the real Gerhard Marby please stand up? Thank you very much. Well, I guess you really kind of caught the panel in the wilderness this time because it's the best amount of fooling that's been done this evening. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Harry Madsen. I'm a bartender at Sparks Pub South.
Number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Robert Kuiper. I'm a carpenter.
Yes,
Tom. I wonder if Gerhardt, the real Gerhardt number 2, would agree that a bull moose is the most dangerous animal in his wilderness.
But I would say yes. We have a small amount of bears up here, but a bull moose will give you a lot of trouble. It's got quite a big rack, and the trails are a little narrow.
It's very hard to get out of his way.
You get in the way.
Well, in checking the score, I'm sure you've already checked it, probably, counting as you go and knowing that there are 3 incorrect votes. That's 3 times $250 for the highest amount tonight, or $750 to divide. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, too. Good night, and God bless you. Right now, let's take time out for a brief film. Back in a minute. Good night, panel, and I thank you for making it just that.
Good night.
Good night, Bud.
And good night for Winston. Don't forget to join us the same time next week, and of course I'll see you tomorrow afternoon on the daytime show. But in the meantime, don't you forget to tell the truth. Bye.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production.
Stay tuned for more fun as Gerwin Kirby attempts to puzzle the experts on I've Got a Secret, next on CBS.
To Tell the Truth was brought to you tonight by Tempo, new tobacco blend for more tobacco taste. Now there's a charcoal-tipped cigarette with good old-fashioned flavor. Tempo. This is Johnny Olson speaking. For To Tell the Truth, the program was recorded.